When it comes to lady leads, there's sometimes expectations laid upon how they can act and present themselves to be considered proper, likable heroines. 8 times out of 10, the standards and the claims of so-and-so heroine being unlikable are being bleated by a bad-faith bozo who probably hasn't held a positive conversation with a real-life woman in many winters. But at the same time, sometimes your main character is just an unlikable asshole that nobody in the audience can get behind, regardless of gender. Surly and crass heroines with major character flaws even today spark a debate about what qualities a main female character should embody. Case in point, the non-stop debates about the DCU's drunken party gal characterization for Supergirl. But as sensibilities change, so too do the perceptions of these characters. Granted, this pair of bad bitches wouldn't care what you have to think about them, and would knock your lights out if you tried to run your mouth in front of them. Dispatch's hot mess anti-hero Invisigal, and Scarlet El Vandimion, the bloodthirsty villainess of May I Ask for One Final Thing, are sharp-tongued ladies who, while having decent hearts and morals behind their icy exteriors, aren't afraid to get their hands dirty or even a little bloody against people who deserve it. Hey team, Phantom Skull, the super security VTuber here, and today we're looking at this pair of pretty but unhinged anti-heroines to analyze their similarities, differences, and character dynamics as we talk about why folks love these badass ladies.
You're talking about what kind of ladies?
Brianna Buckler, my favorite employee.
Mr. Skull, I'm your only employee. That's why we're working double shifts, man.
Don't remind me.
And why are you saying my full name like this is the first time I've been at this office?
Totally not because this is the first video your art assets were finished for.
What?
Hey, so I got some new coffee in the break room.
Wait, are you doing one of those video essays you're always recording while I'm out in the field? Come on, you promised I could start getting in on these.
Fine. Seems appropriate since this one's all about cool ass-kicking gals.
Well, I am a gal, and I do kick a lot of ass when needed.
So let's dive in and see some proper ladies kicking all sorts of ass. So spoilers for Dispatch and May I Ask for One Final Thing's anime. Also, while we'll be covering different aspects of Invisigal's character depending on your choices as Best Boy Robert, we'll mostly be focusing on the good path for Vizzy. Let's start with a brief introduction to our surly leading ladies. In the very adult-oriented cape story of Dispatch, superheroes are more than just colorful do-gooders fighting the forces of evil out of the goodness of their hearts. It's also a job field. Why be like Peter broke-ass Parker saving people for free when you can do the same thing as a 9-to-5? For the corporate heroes of the Superhero Dispatch Network, this option is very much a reality and not written as negatively as you'd think a privatized superhero force would be, for the most part. SDN, a mix of a private security and dispatch service company, employs a plethora of heroes and support staff to protect their own legally recognized portions of the country via subscription services. Dispatch's branch of SDN specifically focusing on Torrance, California.
Huh. So they're Skull Guard security, except successful and fully staffed.
Hordy horror. Reminder that almost every other security company you could apply for would make you cut that hair before hiring you.
All right, taking the snark down a tab, boss.
Alongside traditional heroes looking to save the day and get health benefits, it also has members of the Phoenix program, which allows mostly low-risk ex-supervillains to commute their sentences in return for being under contract as SDN heroes. Unfortunately, the Torrance branch's crew of motley f***ups known appropriately as the Z-Team are risking the entire program being shuttered due to their half-assed attempts at heroism and problematic behavior. And at the very top of that f***up list and at the bottom of the SDN rankings is Invisigal. Originally known as Invisibitch as a villain, she's a superhuman with the ability to turn invisible while holding her breath, and mostly known for petty crimes, assault, and robbery. However, despite having nearly the least amount of serious crimes next to Golem, Invisigal is considered the worst of the Z-Team due to her lazy, apathetic nature in the field, her refusal to work with others, and constantly using her invisibility to rack up HR violations. That would matter if SDN had a functioning HR department because my god, the Torrance branch is a show of them. Things take a turn when now currently mechless hero Mecha Man, aka Robert Robertson III, is brought in by Blonde Blazer to whip the Super Zeros into shape as their new dispatcher. Taking particular interest in Vizzy, Robert seeks to mentor the abusive and crass ex-thief, and possibly romance her if you decide emotionally broken tomboys are Robert's thing, as your choices ultimately help guide her path to becoming a real hero or relapsing into villainy. If there was a poster gal for the I can fix her, she can ruin me meme, Vizzy would definitely be in the running for it. In the Kingdom of Palestan, a familiar tale was unfolding one night at an elegant ball. Prince Kyle, the second in line for the throne, has just broken his engagement off with his supposedly frosty fiancée, Scarlet El Vandimion, to instead marry his new beloved, the lovely and innocent Terraneza Hopkins, whom they accuse Scarlet of relentlessly bullying her out of envy. A classic tale of a villainess about to meet her demise as the heroine gets the prince and lives happily ever after. That's how the story is supposed to go anyways. That is until the villainess asks for one final request before agreeing to breaking off the marriage. That request? Punching the living daylights out of this cotton candy-haired homewrecker. So let's dial it back and get a better look at our real heroine, Miss Vandimion. As a child, Scarlet was a violent but principled girl who was known for beating the living shit out of abusive noble children who were hurting commoners and other innocents. While their family understood her good intentions, her much more socially savvy brother implored her to rein in her violent tendencies and to act more like a proper noble lady for the safety of the family's standing with the nobility. Something she relents to, right before it's announced she is officially engaged to the abusive second prince Kyle. For years up until young adulthood, she tolerated this abuse and mockery for the sake of her family, along with teasing from Kyle's kinder but dickishly trickster brother Julius. Finding out she had put up with Kyle's shit for most of her childhood, only to be falsely accused of bullying, her name slandered, and then publicly dumped by him, rendering her silent suffering and sacrifices for nothing, Scarlet stopped caring about the family reputation and proceeded to have one of the most justified crash-outs in 2025. Donning her favorite mithril-lined brawling gloves, she proceeded to brutalize Terraneza, Kyle's vile slave-owning nobility ass-kissers, and finally the second prince himself in a glorious dance of blood and fists.
Damn, this is a woman whose hands are rated E for everyone. Look at this.
There's a reason Scarlet is one of my favorite anime protagonists of 2025. That day, Scarlet's new life as the Mad Dog Princess would begin, along with her crusade of punching the evil and corrupt of her kingdom while living life for herself. Along with her new friends and complicated romance with the first Prince Julius, they seek to bring down multiple threats to their land, while her brother slowly dies from the stress of dealing with Scarlet's ever-growing infamy. Vizzy and Scarlet share some similar qualities despite their wildly different backgrounds, such as both of them sharing a volatile and constantly spinning, but mostly well-meaning moral compass. Granted, Invisigal's morality is partially determinant on the choices the player makes as Robert, but even then, a lot of Vizzy's story is a woman with a guilty conscience trying to learn how to actually become a hero, but sabotaging herself with her own ingrained preconceptions about her powers, background, and supposed inability to change for the better. While she's very rough around the edges starting out and a straight-up dick to Robert, you see the signs that she is trying to change, but struggling with her own feelings of inadequacy for being born with villain powers.
Power profiling is a trope that tends to crop up in stories with a heavily enhanced population, such as My Hero Academia's Hitoshi and his hangups of having the villainous power of mind control and the societal stress he found placed upon him due to those preconceived notions.
Vizzy apparently never heard of Invisible Woman or My Hero's Hagakure. Jokes aside, this is where her low self-esteem comes from. While it's never elaborated on beyond saying she grew up with a bad crowd, It's clear she's faced profiling for her invisibility powers, given how deeply ingrained her feelings of them being villain powers is. It's notable in her introduction and rap sheet that she turned herself in and signed up for the Phoenix program under the condition of them not asking too many questions as to why. In the endgame, we discover that Invisigal was a former associate of the supervillain Shroud, who was ultimately the one to plant the explosive that destroyed the Mecha Man's suit. She did this to pay off her debt for a Shroud upgrade that would increase her lung capacity, but she was so guilty of grounding and almost killing a real hero like Mecha Man, she quit the next day and turned herself in, at the cost of her upgrade being shut off. This revelation does make her bad attitude and treating Robert like for not having powers but trying to lecture her about heroism a little hypocritical to some players, seeing as her guilt over grounding the hero was her initial motivation to turn herself in and start over. But like a lot of modern takes on redemption stories, it takes more than feeling bad and trying to start over to actually start over. Vizzy had a long history of antisocial, behavioral, and trust issues that weren't going to go away overnight, and ultimately nobody had enough perspective to give her the help she needed to actually facilitate lasting change in her behavior. That is, until Robert came into the picture. Just because she wanted to change doesn't mean she was fully ready to. In many ways, she mirrors the stray cat archetype. Fierce, violent, and untrusting after a life of hardship, but with patience, love, and understanding, she eventually would let her walls down to allow Robert to help her see the potential she had as a hero, while still being a lovable little goblin like all cats. Scarlet's morality can be quickly surmised as a D&D morality chart, with her ping-ponging constantly between chaotic good and chaotic neutral depending on her mood. But there is more to it than that. Scarlet, by her own admission, is not a 100% noble person. She has a short temper and an insatiable lust for violence, flat out admitting her targeting of the corrupt members of the nobility, the slavers the nobles collude with, and the scheming cultists of the Palmian Church is mostly because they're guilt and mostly consequence-free targets for her fists to pummel into the dirt. But behind her bloodlust, she also cares for the weak and the downtrodden, those who can't fight back against these evils, pointing out most common folk striking back against the evil nobles will be considered a crime under their flawed aristocracy. So as a member of the nobility, she does feel a duty to dish out justice and punishment to the nobles in her ballpark, as she has the privilege to do so. Granted, a lot of this is tied to the fact the royal family needs and wants Scarlet in their court due to her having the blessing of the time god Klonoa, whose blessing is necessary for the maintenance of their anti-monster protection wards. More on this blessing business in the next section, though.
Also, had Scarlet just told them about Kyle's abuses, they would have disowned the idiot sooner than they did due to how much they consider being on Scarlet's good side a national priority. Unfortunately, a young Scarlet did not fully realize until after the fact she was worth a lot more than Prince Punk Ass here.
This is something she is aware of after the fact. And again, her love of violence and banging skulls together like a symphony of carnage is legitimate. What's also legitimate is her firm principles of using her violence to protect those who can't defend themselves, and to make evildoers face justice via her beatdowns. She also makes it clear she loves violence that serves a noble goal, but despises wanton violence that serves no goal or point. She considers people violently hurting others just for kicks to be lower than even beasts. While her sense of justice is very self-serving to her darker impulses, her heart is ultimately in the right place. Though that doesn't stop her from being a teasing troll when she can get away with it. Their powers are interesting when you look at their characters and the dynamics they have with them. Invisigal is probably the easiest to talk ability since hers are, well, in the name. Vizzy has the superpower of invisibility that she can only use when she holds her breath. Oh, did I mention she also has asthma?
Yeesh. What god does she piss off, because that feels so hilariously targeted.
In spite of this handicap, she shows herself to be a nimble and brutal hand-to-hand fighter, often using her invisibility to sneak up on enemies and lay them out quick. However, it should be noted the element of surprise and agility are her only real abilities. as she's just as durable and strong as the average human woman. So when she gets grabbed by someone stronger than her, she often will need help getting them off of her. For that reason, much like her mentor, maybe boyfriend Robert, she too often fights dirty and with pragmatic brutality to ensure victory. The invisibility also ties to her character. She's someone who feels unseen, at least the better side of her. Most people, until a good choices path Robert, saw only a troublemaking thief and supervillain who wasn't worth the effort. Someone destined to lurk in the shadows and fated to be a criminal. One of Robert's many hurdles during the events of Dispatch is helping Vizzy with this fatalist mindset tied to her powers and feeling like she can't escape her past choices. As for Scarlet, the fastest way to describe her powers is a min-maxing nightmare of a mage-monk multiclasser with a time god sugar daddy, which all adds up to an extra dose of the DM just got up and left the table levels of glorious bullshit. Scarlet, like Vizzy, is a brutal hand-to-hand combat specialist. She has incredible strength and agility despite her lithe frame. She also has a multitude of magical spells, and being a hard-working prodigy, is very good with her spellcasting. But her ace in the hole, and the reason the royal family is very keen on being on her good side, is her blessing. In Scarlet's realm, the many gods and goddesses that rule and watch over it will choose humans to be their favored champions. Those chosen few receiving incredible supernatural abilities that go beyond the limits of their realm's basic magic spells, known as blessings. Scarlet is the latest champion of the time god, Cronoa, who blesses her with time magic. Her time blessing allows her a large variety of chronokinesis abilities, with the two most notable ones being acceleration, which functionally turns her into the Flash, enhancing her monstrous strength with superhuman speed that makes her already powerful fists into rapid-fire menaces. And the other spell, Time Reversal, allows her to literally turn back the clock on objects and people, basically making a time-themed full heal, such as when she uses it to heal her injured friends or remove Nanaka's magical slave brand. But her most powerful spell is Overclock, a spell that allows time to slow down to a crawl except for her, allowing her to dish out insane amounts of damage to a basically immobile target, said target not feeling the full effects until time is restored, and it often sends them flying in a bloody pulp. This blessing is also a key component alongside the barrier blessing Saint Diana has, with the two blessings needed to strengthen and repair the land's anti-monster repelling monuments. This is a closely guarded secret, and part of the reason Scarlet gets a lot of leeway with her vigilante shenanigans, beyond Prince Julius covering for her, I mean. Her overwhelming time powers do come at a cost, though. Overclocking them for too long takes a heavy toll on her body, which will cause her to be in a coma to recover for a few days, and overdoing it beyond that can lead to some long-term effects to her health, symbolized by her hair getting the Cruella de Vil treatment when she overexerts her use of Overclock to fully punish corrupt Prime Minister Carmine for his many crimes against her friends and the people of her kingdom. Thankfully, unlike our lead villain Terraneza and her bat-crazy goddess Sugar Mama Palmia, Cronoa's a pretty chill guy who heals it and even upgrades Scarlet's blessing when it becomes clear she's gonna have to deal with the corrupt goddess of love schemes in his stead. The craziest thing is that despite all of those powers, her inhuman strength and combat ability is specifically commented to not be magic. That is a natural ability of hers, which makes her unique in her realm. Alongside that, she's far from simply a strong brawler, being a trained martial artist who uses her blessing, spells, and strength to brutal efficiency. Calling Scarlet built different would not simply be an exaggeration. It should be what her actual blessing should be called. But no amount of powers can save them from their personal demons. For Invisigal at least. This is the category where if this was a typical versus comparison video, Scarlet would take the edge since she handles her far better than Crashout. But that's a little unfair since they both got wildly different things going on in their respective series. For one thing, Scarlet is the main heroine of her own series, while Vizzy is the major supporting character of Robert's story. Uncrashing her out is the core part of Dispatch's choice-driven narrative. With Scarlet, it's more about her being a wild card in a standard fairy tale romance plot.
In general, the villainous genre in anime is often a subversion of tired fantasy romance expectations of women. The evil villainess is revealed to be the misunderstood maverick, fighting cultural norms, using her sharp tongue and wit to find love and respect on her own terms, while the overly demure heroine is revealed to be a two-faced, inauthentic people-pleaser at best. Though, with Scarlet's pink-haired nemesis, Terraneza, it would be far worse.
But we'll cover that in their relationship section. Another nugget to consider is even with the usual subversion seen in other villainous animes, May I Ask for One Final Thing takes it a step further. Scarlet's fan nickname One Punch Villainess isn't just funny, it's shockingly appropriate if you think about how similar she is to cue ball powerhouse Saitama of One Punch Man. Both of them are effectively lethal joke characters who are the protagonists of subversions of their own genres. Saitama was a depressed, overpowered dork in a shonen battle manga parody that took itself more seriously than Saitama ever does. And Scarlet is a foul-mouthed shonen action heroine in a political intrigue fantasy romance that very much forgot to scale its antagonists to her level. Similarly, its villains have just as much depth to them as a piece of cardboard, since outside of Terraneza, they're just hateable objects for Scarlet to mercilessly beat down guilt-free. Like, this is legit a typical bad guy encounter in the show.
Ah yes, good chaps. Today is a good day for I, Lord Badman von Puppykicker, to gloat about how despicable I am. I have no goals or personality traits beyond bullying the filthy poor, owning and abusing slaves, and kicking children because it brings me joy. And I'm far too rich for any consequences. I say, who let this dainty young waifu into my chambers?
A good evening to you, Lord Puppykicker. I happen to be in the neighborhood and have been just dying to make your acquaintance.
Oh, I get it. You're here to lecture me about changing my ways and how it's not too late to be a better person. Or such nonsense. Now away with you. Don't you have some hunky blonde suitor to swoon over or whatever your type does?
Oh my, dear lord. You seem to be under the impression I'm some basic bitch romance protagonist. I must unfortunately inform you that the only one who will be swooning tonight is you from your blood loss.
I beg your finest pardon.
For you see, my very punchable bit villain, I am a heroine of a different sort. The kind that like to balance proper tea parties with friends and taking belts to asses on rich bastards whose avoidance of karma has gone on far enough.
I say, belts to asses, what a quaint term. Oh, I get it. It's a play on giving an asshole, but oh dear God, no wait!
While there is threat and stakes in Scarlet's story, it balances out just how much of an anomaly Scarlet is to the scaling of power in her setting, similar to the titular One Punch Man is to his. That isn't to say Scarlet is without personal drama or strife, particularly with her feelings for the trickster First Prince Julius. She's just far better at handling herself since she has a kingdom to save from over-emotional and cartoonishly evil men and women children. Specifically Terraneza. This is a good time to segue into these ladies' relationships, their lovers, friends, and enemies, and everything in between. Vizzy doesn't have a lot of friends at the start of the game due to her volatile lone wolf personality. Hell, it's even one of her starting perks. When she's not messing with the others or sabotaging them, the only one she's amicable with is Golem and Blonde Blazer. With Blazer, they have a bit of an older, younger sister vibe, with Blazer wanting to see her potential as a hero, but having a hard time connecting with the rough around the edges Vizzy that an equally rough Robert has fewer issues with. Her and Golem have a firm friendship, best shown in episode 7, when he's the only one refusing to vote on Vizzy being removed from the Z team for her insubordination, causing everyone's favorite foul-mouthed speedster Chase to be hospitalized. While the others warm up to her during the course of the story, a lot of this tied to Robert's work to help get the volatile Z team members to actually become a team. And that is the meat of Dispatch's story, Robert and Vizzy's relationship. Regardless of if the player chooses to be friendly co-workers or lovers, their choices as Robert, and good use of Vizzy during the Dispatch sections, helps guide her story between truly becoming a real hero or relapsing far worse into villainy.
Robert and Vizzy have a lot of good chemistry, matching her energy in constant battles of snark and sarcasm to the point people actually complain that alternate romance option, Blonde Blazer, almost feels like an afterthought with how little importance she has to the plot compared to Vizzy.
Personally, I do think they went a little too far with her personal issues, with the 27-year-old acting more like an angsty, immature 17-year-old, with her only real explanation being, I got treated differently for having villain powers. To be fair, much like people's criticism of Blazer, a lot of this can be chalked up to the fact we're seeing these characters from Robert's point of view, so we don't get the full picture of what she's going through beyond what Robert is told.
It does feel like the game intends for people to read between the lines of her story to see her past pain, but given how low people's media literacy is these days, she's unfortunately taken at face value since a lot of her character isn't spelled out to the player.
With her connections to Shroud, I'll be brief as, again, he's more of Robert's nemesis, but Vizzy is deeply connected to him due to her criminal past, and revealed to have been his conflicted mole with an SDN. But thanks to Robert's influence, she fights back against him, ensuring he doesn't get a hold of the actual pulse, though few trust her intentions beyond a full Team Vizzy choice as Robert. I've got a separate video involving Shroud, so I'll keep to Vizzy-specific facts. Shroud's main weakness, despite him seeing it as his strength, is his obsessive need to predict people's actions. His predictive algorithm tech leaves him often a few steps ahead of the heroes when they fall into their habits. But when the heroes start being spontaneous and thinking outside the box, his inability to make choices for himself would bite him in the ass. His biggest mistake being profiling Invisigal as a cowardly, sneaky villain who would never change, with the bad ending having him getting shanked to death by a villainous embracing Vizzy, never considering her the type to go for a usurper play, but it's the good ending where Vizzy shines. A good playthrough has her slowly dropping her walls to let others in, getting Robert's favorite donut for him after his help with his dispatching, revealing her name of Courtney to the team, and, while it blew up in her face in some ways, going rogue to ensure Shroud didn't get his hands on the actual pulse during the final arc of Season 1. Despite few trusting her, and Shroud putting doubt in her teammates about her allegiances, a good aligned Vizzy ends up taking a bullet for Robert, giving him the moment to end Shroud's plot. Shroud, for all his predictive algorithms, never thought a thief like Courtney would put her life on the line for anyone else. Regardless of friend or lover route, Vizzy ends her shift with her head held high, her teammates cheering her on, and everyone seeing her finally as the hero she thought she could never be. Invisigal had finally found her place to belong, and didn't feel the need to run away and hide ever again. Until any potential Season 2, but we'll see. As far as Scarlet's circle of friends and loved ones, she's far more beloved if smothered by her typical pretty boy cast. Her beastkin servant and honorary little brother Nanaka is someone she cares for deeply, and in turn he adores her and wants to help the woman who freed him from slavery in any way he can. Despite how much she likes to tease her brother Leo, she does love him and wants to work with him to better the kingdom, despite them clashing over her cowboy cop mentality and refusing to abstain from her need for bloodshed against the deserving. And her relationship with Saint Diana is one of a sweet but firm big sister, helping the lonely and often emotionally neglected girl have someone who treats her like a person over simply the saint. But much like Vizzy and Robert, the meat of her story is her relationship with Julius. The two are a match made in hell with their sharp tongues and mischievous personalities, though both play hard to get due to their hyper-competitive natures. And unlike 99% of the arrogant men she uses for punching bags, can back up his talk. But deep down, there is a mutual attraction there, hampered by their own pride and stubborn natures. This will come to a head when facing Terraneza a final time as she uses Palmia's brainwashing to turn the prince against Scarlet. Granted, Scarlet being gleeful for a free excuse to punch him was not on the villain's bingo card. It's when cornered by a Palmia juiced up Terraneza that the two are forced to confront their feelings for each other, which causes the prince's own blessing, Heroic Tail, to trigger, which allows him to protect and supercharge someone he loves. Swallowing her pride and giving Julius her first kiss to return his feelings for her allowed her to access Heroic Tail to get the boost she needs to deal with the goddess-powered bitch heroine once and for all. And as far as Terraneza and her insane goddess Palmia, They are a good foil for Scarlet's character in May I Ask for One Final Thing. In a unique twist, it's revealed Terraneza is a twisted isekai protagonist, being an antisocial sociopath from Japan who was taken by the mad goddess of love Palmia to be her avatar in Scarlet's world to bring chaos and destruction out of petty spite.
As the god of time reveals to Scarlet, Palmia is madly in love with him, but to the point she's furious that he doesn't solely love her, and is jealous of his love of humanity. To say Scarlet was less than impressed to find out their kingdom's problems are due to a goddess acting like an immature schoolgirl beefing over a guy would be putting it mildly.
Her puppet, partner in crime Terraneza, isn't much better. She's, take it away, Scarlet.
That nasty pink bitch.
Yeah, that. Like her goddess, she's equally petty, spiteful, manipulative, and quite literally is under the delusion of being the main character. She hates Scarlet with a burning passion for hijacking her isekai story and making her the butt of the joke. That's the core difference between the two women. Scarlet, despite her Blood Knight tendencies and vicious nature, is a legitimately heroic woman who cares about others over herself. While Terraneza acts like a doe-eyed manipulator who treats their world like her personal playground, and everyone in it as just toys for her to use and break in service to her own happy ending. As her many plots to ruin the kingdom and destroy Scarlet fail, she would slowly be driven insane by her need to kill the villainess, not caring in the finale that Palmia's power-up was basically eating her alive, so long as she killed the Mad Dog Princess. Scarlet, having enough of her shit, would use her boy toy's power-up to stop the fake heroine once and for all. At least until any potential season 2 anyway. Scarlet ends her tale with her kingdom finally at peace. But she herself mortified, convinced the crafty prince orchestrated the events of that final battle to get her to let her guard down first in their game of romance to get that kiss. Which has her at the end giving Julius the most glorious of screw yous before sending him flying. These two need to work on their definitions of flirting. With these two hot-blooded heroines, they show the importance of having surly but still good-hearted female protagonists.
Yeah, while Scarlet and Invisigal are both foul-mouthed troublemakers, that doesn't stop either from being legitimate heroes and lovable ones at that.
Despite their own negative personality traits and sometimes concerning behavior, they're shown to be fully fleshed out anti-heroines with layers who still have good moral compasses and each wanting to do better by others in their stories. They're both bad bitches of justice, and I can't wait to see more of them and characters like them in the future.
Huh, that was fun. We should do these videos together more often.
Yeah, it's nice to have someone to chat with during these recordings. Let's definitely schedule more after our next security gig.
You mean the one we were supposed to leave for like 15 minutes ago?
Yeah, exactly like that. What? Oh,
I'll get the car keys, you lock up.
Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like and a comment. It greatly helps with our channel as we continue our wacky content creation adventures. What are your feelings on Invisigal and Scarlet? Got a volatile anti-heroine of your own you want to talk about? Let me know down below. Also, happy 1-year anniversary for our channel. February was my first month of serious content creation last year, and I'm so happy to see how much we've grown since then. And I wanted to celebrate with the introduction of my new co-host. And a huge thank you to Noir Ryujin for providing the voice of my new character, Brianna Buckler. Bria's been a character I've wanted to incorporate into my videos for a while, and I'm happy to have found a lovely voice actress for her finally. Noir is a fellow VTuber with amazing content, and I highly recommend checking her out. I've got links down below, so give her a follow on all of them. And I have to shout out my model artist Ruby Cafe for their incredible work on Bree's PNG tuber model. They really went above and beyond upgrading my initial concept into the lovely figure you saw today. This Bat Barista is also an amazing VTuber, so go check them out on their socials and content. Also gotta thank Kikimara VT and Krizamoon here for voicing Scarlet and Lord Puppy Kicker for the video. I really enjoyed editing that little skit together with them, and they're both amazing VTubers as well, so go give them a follow too down below. We will be showing up here and there in videos. If you want to help us with being able to hire Noir for more frequent voice work, please consider becoming a member of our channel. It's just $3 a month and you get some cool emotes for streams and other perks. If not, we appreciate simple liking, commenting on, and sharing our videos. All support is appreciated. Got a lot more videos in the pipeline, I can't wait to share them all with you. Thank you all again, and I'll catch you in the next one.